Hello and welcome to GoogleIO Extended Nordic Edition. We are happy to see you all here, and it's a great team that will I'll let them introduce themselves, and I'll introduce myself at the end. So go ahead, Majid. You're first on the picture. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Majid Hajian. I'm one of the organizers of GDG Oslo and Flutter Meetup. So I'm very excited for today's meetup for recapping Google I/O. The stage is yours next, Summit.
Okay, I was on this side of you. Hello, everyone. I'm Sumit from GDG Copenhagen. Like to welcome you all for the talk today around what was there for Google I/O. So welcome, Prashant.
Yes, hi, this is Prashant from GDG Stavanger. I would also like to welcome all of you for this session, and hopefully you will go away with lots of good stuff. Yeah, thank you. Pramila?
Hi, I'm Pramila. I'm one of the organizers from GDG Copenhagen, and closely working with Sumit in GDG Copenhagen.
Martina?
Yeah, so hello. Hello. My name is Martina, and I'm from GDG Aalborg, and I'm so glad that you have decided to spend this afternoon with us and talk a little bit about announcements from Google I/O, and hope that you will have a nice time with us.
Awesome. And my name is Rustam. I'm one of the organizers of GDG Cloud Oslo and also helping at GDG Oslo as well. So welcome, everyone. The only person that is probably not in the picture, but he will be joining us shortly, is Eyvind from GDG Bergen. We will be seeing him a little bit later in this presentation. So let's get started then.
Sure. Maybe we can start with our slides. Rustam, if you can add a few slides first. What do we have for today?
Sure.
Or I can share my screen.
I can do it like this, and I'll just
Perfect.
remove us from, but everyone can hear everyone, but the slides are in the first on the picture. Go ahead.
Perfect. So the I/O Extended Nordic, exciting meetup, a big one, collaboration between all the GDGs across the Nordic countries. We get together to bring this big event one more time to you, and thank you for joining us and listening to us today. But what do we have for today, Rustam? First, well, we went through this. Hello from the community, right? So we introduced ourselves, and we are very glad that we are seeing you also in the chat or in the stage right now. So then we're going to recap what has happened in Google I/O Extended 2021 in 4 different categories. We're going to talk about mobile, Flutter, Android, and all the stuff that is happening there. We will talk about web and what is new in web and a lot of cool stuff that is happening over there. And then cloud and machine learning together, all the stuff that is happening around there. So if you have not had any chance to listen to any talk or anything from Google I/O, don't worry. We get you covered today. We will give you all the important information for sure. And at the end, we will also have a round table. So we're going to have some GDs, Google Developer Expert with us, together with some of our organizers. We will discuss some of the features, exciting features from I/O. And we will like you to send us your question, your opinion, comment, feedback, anything that you want in the chat. We will talk about all of them. Please write everything that you feel that we have to talk about it, or you want to talk about that at the end in our discussion panel. But before that, Oh, I forgot about the raffle. For sure, the most important part of our event. We're going to give away 5 t-shirts today. And you probably are going to be one of our lucky winner today. That's very simple. We will share the link how you can participate for this raffle. It's going to be a very, very, very simple process. It's a simple form, 2 field, 1 button, and you get a chance to win a t-shirt. And at the end of the meeting today, we will raffle. And if you are already in the chat, we will contact you and we will send you this t-shirt. There is only one thing, is that you should be in the Nordic countries. Then we can send you these t-shirts. And before we start, maybe we should go through our code of conduct, Rostam. You want to take it?
Yeah, I can do that. Sure. So the code of conduct in very short and brief form is be nice to each other. So be nice, respectful, and constructive. Try not to post, or do not post. Actually, there is no try on any inappropriate content. Do not advertise or promote things. Do not spam, and we do not accept or tolerate harassment of any kind. So I guess that is it, and it's time to show the link to the raffle. Do we show it right away? I guess we do.
Yes,
And
let's show it, because everyone has a time from now until end of the meeting, so you can join. Go to this link, scan the QR code, simply register, and you probably win a t-shirt, right, Rustam? Or anyone else?
Oh yes, there is a great chance of doing so.
Yes, we have shared it as well in the comments, and we already receiving people participating. So
Whoa, fantastic. That's
fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. So when we're going over to IO recap, I would suggest that whoever is doing the presentation, they can share their screens, or otherwise I can do that, but then I will need to get a message when to switch slides. It's really up to you how you want to do that.
Sure.
I will share the screen, Rustam, then. Yeah.
Go ahead, share your screen, and I will switch to you. There you go.
Fantastic. So then we will leave the stage to Summit to recap, and also moving forward to the Android and Flutter part. So
Sure. Thank you,
yours.
Majid.
See you in a bit.
Yeah, so I think you can all see my screen. It should say IO recap. Thumbs up. So there wasn't anything massive or big that was announced. It was a past event. So I'll just quickly run through what went and what were the headlines. So Google unveiled Lambda, short for language model for dialogue applications, a machine learning model designed for dialogue and built on Transformer. That's a neural network architecture that Google invented and open sourced. They also talked about an AI language that was an AI language model, MUM, that will eventually make Google search a lot more smarter, according to them. And they launched something in 2019 called as BERT, and this is almost like an evolution of that. And I think it's what they say is like 10,000 times more powerful than BERT, and can learn across 75 languages. So that was around AI, ML, and another highlights were Android 12 preview. That was the first look at Google's new radical design. Google and Samsung, in this case, united to reboot the Android watches. I don't have any watches. I always have inspiration to get Android watch, but never did. But it looks like there is a bit of a Fitbit dose into that also. Then they spoke about Chrome testing, which is an RSS-powered follow button and feed that keeps Google Reader team alive. Then there were lots of Google Workspace updates, which was to do with Smart Canvas. And then they plan to build a commercial quantum computer by 2019. So that was mostly the headline. Now let's just go a bit more deeper and find out about mobile, Flutter, and Android. I was supposed to do it with Sarah. She couldn't make it last minute, so I'll cover some of our topic. So let's start with Android. We start with Android. What is it called? I think it was Android 12. Will it be called Snowcone? This was a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, and it's not Snowcone. Android 12 will be called Android 12. And then I digged a little bit more deeper into this and says Google actually used to use desert names for their internal code bases. But I think after Android 10, they basically stopped doing it. So Android 10 was known as Quincy Tart, 11 was Red Velvet. So internally, I feel like they still talk about Snowcone, but there was like an official, I think I was watching the developer keynote, they said it is Android 12 now, no more desert-themed names. So one of the big announcements for Android was design language. And this was a quote from the Samir Samrat, the VP of product management at of Android and Google Play. So it's like from him, it's like the biggest design change in Android's history. So coming back to what does that mean? If you see the screens and they announced something called as Material View. That's a new design featuring a big bubbly buttons, shifting colors, and smoother animation throughout the material design, which again, Android, we are used to it. It looks a bit different. For my liking, I didn't like it, but I think we will get used to it. It's a bit more cooler, calmer. That's what I can say from here. And then on top of it, you can see that the way they do it is you can customize the system color that will match your wallpaper. So the tone actually just floats into the entire ecosystem with different screens, and even the clock color changes according to the contrast. So this feature will be crowning most of what you do. You will have option to automatically change your system color. Will pull out both the dominant and the complementary colors from the wallpaper, and you can apply those colors to buttons, sliders, and it's neat. And it's also good for developers because they have opened up a bit more color spectrum for us when we are building apps for our users. And then Google is finally overhauling the widgets on Android by reworking the widget API to enhance the user experience across different platforms. That is the Android skin and the launchers. So you can now see a consistent spread of Google Sans font. I don't know how many of you use the Google Sans font. The flat icons and the comprehensive color palettes, and all of which together gives this widget a bit more of a modern look. If you can see, it looks and I think they did a survey that a lot of people actually use widgets on the home screen, minimum 1 and I think maximum of 5. So that's what they found out during that widget is still in use, and they would like it to be again more pleasing, and gives us again a developer more opportunity to enable users to get more information on fly. Then I think the question would be, is it released? No, it's not released. It's been previewed, actually done from February 2021, and I think by the time the final release would be out, so it would be somewhere around August or September. So there's still time. They just announced it, so it's not that they have released it. You can actually download the beta of both Android Studio and the Android SDK and try it out yourself. I was trying it out on my OnePlus. I still felt a bit buggy, and then I noticed that there was something announced by OnePlus team itself that they have a problem and they would like you to roll back to the out-of-the-box ISO. But you can always try it out to see what they have done. And there was a lot of talk about, I think it was, for me, it was like a catch-up to iOS or to Apple. So there was a lot of talk about privacy, and this was a major highlight of what I noticed during the talk. So Google is doing few things with privacy in Android 12, and the focus is mostly on the 3 sensors they have. Yeah, so they see as trigger points for people: the location, the camera, and the microphone. And they want privacy principle to be privacy by design. So transparency for the user, more control to the user. They would like us to collect less data, and then they have this thing called as private compute core, which I think I will talk about a little bit more. So you can see like the microphone and camera indicator. I thought it was there, and it was actually been introduced in iOS earlier, that now you get notified every time an app accesses mic and camera data. And then user can explicitly say whether they want to give access to us. So camera and mic will now flip on the title if you see this like a small dot here to notify the user that they are being in use, and they can actually then go in and turn it off. So when an app tries to use one of them, Android will pop up with a box asking if you want to turn it back on. And if you choose not to, the app will think that it doesn't have an access to the camera and the mic. So nothing will come. So it will be blank or black nothingness or silence. So that's the mode you need to tackle if you're developing an app on that. And as a developer, I think you should make sure that the best practices are being in place when developing apps to handle the camera and mic. So you can see here the user can toggle off microphone and camera access. So there's a new settings bar. Again, very bold. User can easily see what's going on. So nothing more is required from us if we follow the permission best practices. And then access to the sensor sampling rate will be throttled to 200 megahertz when Microsoft is muted. So that's something to consider if you're building a chat app, a voice app, or a video app. I like this one. For location, Google is adding another option for what kind of access you can grant an app, alongside the options limiting access to either approximate or precise location. Approximation will let the app know your location with less precision, but you cannot maybe guess an exact address or where he's standing. Google suggests that it is only useful for things like the weather app. So not many apps actually need precise location, so approximation works. Yeah, but if you want to do it, you can actually use one of these parameters in your app while building that. The next thing, again, is back to privacy. Google is creating a privacy dashboard specifically for focused location, mic, camera. It presents a pie chart of how many times each has been accessed during the last 24 hours, because this is where the users are telling Google, like, we like to know what we are sharing and how we are doing it. And then using that, user can actually not allow access to an app. So the news app doesn't need the access to camera or mic, so they can actually explicitly say that we would like to turn that off. So you can tap in and get settings for any app from there. And then I think, is that a repeat? I think it's a repeat, sorry for that. Then moving on from privacy into another thing that has been very exciting for a lot of people is Jetpack. Jetpack Compose is still in beta, but version 1 is coming soon. So people who are interested or want to know, this is a time to learn. Jetpack, there have been few good sessions on GoogleIO, and there's again couple of learning labs you can go through. So what it is an intuitive and powerful UI toolkit that you can use. It's built from scratch to accelerate development and let you write UI with much less code. The key idea is it's a declarative UI, and you completely describe what the UI should look like for a given state, and then the framework takes care of the updating of the UI when the state changes. Talking about declarative UI, I think we have seen something like this, or if we are a Flutter developer anyway. There has been a lot of plugins, and again, Android Studio. So you need Android Studio Beta to work with this. And then it has been updated with all the plugins. So interesting thing to try it out. Then talking about declarative UI, let's talk about Flutter. Most of the big news for Flutter was in Flutter Engage. So we knew that Flutter 2 got released in Flutter Engage. So they announced something which was a minor version upgrade. So Flutter 2.2 was announced. The focus was improving quality and productivity. So null safety is default for new projects for Flutter 2, which means when you create a project, you'll see null safe automatically in the project. So they are basically saying we don't want people to get misled. So when you start a project, it is already there. Then Dart got also updated to Dart 2.3. So the secret sauce that powers Flutter now supports arrays packed with structs in FFI. It also includes support for type aliases, which increases readability and provide gentle pathway for certain refactoring scenarios. So you get Dart and Flutter both upgraded. Desktop support now behind a simple configuration file, so it's more stable. Previously, it took a while to set it up. Flutter team also is committed to support the new material design, Material U. So when it gets shipped later this year, we will automatically get all of those functionality and also design language changes. And then experimenting on the Apple M1 chip and Microsoft gaming devices. That was interesting, but was a very small peak. You can now make Flutter apps into Microsoft Universal Windows platform that is used by Xbox, and it's currently in alpha on the dev channel. So if someone is kind of curious and have some time, maybe you can try that out and let everyone know how that works. A lot of, I think this was interesting. I think, and I'll spend some time watching this, was the new debugging and profiling and training tools to help improve the productivity of you. So there are multiple new features. One was the memory tab on the Flutter DevTools. And so you can actually see the stack trace and then custom memory timelines. So you can actually see where your app is leaking. You can track down an object which is allocated. So if there's a leak, you can find out where. So DevTool post events will let you know exactly where in the widget was memory, how it affects the performance. Then there was a big announcement around better integration within their own products. So better integration with Google Cloud Services. Now, what does that mean? That means that it was very closely integrated with AdMob. You can create, you can make money if you have maybe a free app or stuff. So null safety and adaptive banners, that is a part of the AdMob thing. And there's a good code lab available. I have a link here that you can try out to add. How would you add the banner or the native ad to your app? Yeah, and again, they support Apple Pay, and in-app purchase plugin has been moved from beta to production again in the new code lab. So the payment plugin also has been updated and support both Google Pay and Apple Pay. There's another code lab which I liked, which was Flutter in-app purchases code lab by Tim, where he showed how the in-app purchase would work. Yeah, so the plugin will support both Google and Apple, and you can try that out. This one is kind of Dart specific. So a container with Dart SDK compiles down to now just 11 MB, making it good for quick scaling up. If you are building a code lab, this is how they do it. So code lab on how to quickly have a Dart service on Google Cloud, run with a push to git deploy. So then you can see it's such a small compiled framework on the Google Cloud. So an interesting one, but just want to put in a but here, a paid one also. So it's free to try, but if you want to build something, you need to check the pricing. So it's a new Flutter layout tool that was announced that also include, you can work with Firebase or APIs. It also integrates with CodeMagic, so continuous deployment and so on. So it looks very cool. So you can drag and drop, build your layout just using drag and drop. A lot of components available for you to do it, and also there are availability to connect to third parties like Firebase or any APIs. So that was a quick one on mobile, Android, and Flutter. Now pass it to Majid and Pramila to expand on web. Guys, you still online? You're muted.
You're okay. You're here. Sure. I think Pramila is also here. Thank you very much, Sumit. Nice recap. All right. So I'm going to go and share my screen and hopefully Rostam can. Just give me a second. All right. Did I share my screen yet or no? Okay.
No, not yet.
Yes, here we go. So it's coming. All right. So let's get started. So we're going to talk about web and what has happened to the web announced in GoogleIO, me and Pramila in the next 15 to 20 minutes. There are a lot of stuff that it was announced during GoogleIO 221 in the keynote and other videos. There was a lot of content out on the video. You can watch them on demand, or some of them were live and things like that. So we try to recap and find and give you our findings about what is new in web. First of all, the number that they introduced in their keynote was pretty interesting because it shows a significant let's say, increasement of users who are using web from mobile to laptop to desktop. And particularly, we know that mobile usage is quite massive these days compared to other type of devices. So by growing this number, they also showed like the web also is evolving. Google has focused on a few things and pushing a couple of new APIs and concepts around new APIs for web, let's say, constantly for the last couple of years, including privacy. They have talked about privacy for a couple of years, the way that improved Chrome in particular. So they introduced Sandbox. They, from being exposed, like a cookie exposed for across the different websites, they just hide them and then ask you to kind of opt in if you want to just share this. A lot of things that they are pushing, they're trying to isolate the process and the privacy of the user through that particular box of the Chrome box. And they don't want to expose it. They also added a bunch of other stuff, such as, or it was already added, they were just talking about it, like the isolation of the process of each tab So recently, last year, late last year, they also announced that even the iframe in each web page will gonna have a different, separated, isolated process. So they're trying to make web more isolated and more private for users. And for doing that, they are also introducing and pushing a lot of new standard APIs for JavaScript developers or web developers. And one of them where it was highlighted in this event was Attribute Reporting API. There were a couple of other APIs, which I'm not going to go through it. This one in particular was a little bit interesting for me because it's changing the way advertisers, like those companies who are advertising and they are tracking us somehow, it changes the way that they are tracking us. And this API is kind of like an encrypted way of tracking a user, but you cannot do that, and the browser can't do that. It's a little bit, you need to go into it to realize how it works, but then it will be available as an origin trial on Chrome. So probably we can work around and see some examples and see how it works in action. PWA, or Progressive Web App, and a lot of capabilities around that to bring web to the next level, for sure, is one of the criteria of Google advocates for web. So they're pushing these APIs every year, and they're talking about that. Surprisingly, this year, I have not heard even a single word of PWA from keynoters. So in the keynote, there was nothing mentioned about that, but many of these concepts are just around that. It's just like these APIs that you see on the screen, they have been pushed and published to Chrome, and some of them are quite stable. We can definitely use them right now across different browsers by pushing these API as a standard. So one of those APIs is, of course, to engaging our user. A badge API was not quite new; it was there, but they pushed it to stable apparently. So now we are able to somehow show a little badge like iOS if you have, and show the some kind of notification or number to your user, or the way that you can interact with web to show a context menu is a new API that is provided in Chrome as well. So the way that also we install progressive web apps. So one of the aspects of PWA or progressive web apps are installability. So you can install them like native apps. So in desktop and mobile, we have different approaches, but on desktop, recently we see a little plus button on Chrome and all the Chromium-based browsers, and a little hint that it shows what is this and how, and you can install this application on desktop. And on mobile, it was an interesting change recently, which you can see similar to a Play Store or Apple Store, the style of like that. So you can just manipulate and change the data, show the screenshot, and see the install button just like a native app, and install this application on your Android device. One of the interesting API is that is getting there, and I'm very excited about that. It's going to be an interesting API for web developers, is for sure Windows placement API, where you can detect several different screens and you can run, different way of UI for your user in different screens. This is very interesting because these days, especially where we are working online and we have different tools around us, we want to share something in one screen and keep them in another screen. It's going to be an interesting API, and you can actually play with that right now. I put a link in the slide. You can get this slide later. So hardware and web was not quite kind of like a friend. But in the last 4 or 5 years, with the new APIs, which is coming to the web, or they already came to the web as a standard, now we can connect peripherals, different type of peripherals, from joystick, from your Nintendo Switch joystick, or keyboard, or any type of, or a specific keyboard type, or maybe Bluetooth devices. You can connect these peripherals to the web. One of those standards, of course, is Web Serial API, where you can connect serial port or serial-based standard devices, or HID standard devices such as Nintendo Switch. So you can control, let's say, games with your peripherals on your hand on the web. Another interesting and exciting API, which actually was there for quite a while in origin trial and then in beta, it was file system access, where you see probably in some website on Chrome, especially on Chrome, on different platforms, that where you click Control Save or Command S, and then you see that it pops up, and you can save it on your machine and start working with that file on your machine from via the web. And that is a very interesting API. So you can access directly to the files on the user device. Another interesting term, which I picked it from one of the talks, was WebGL. And this is going to be a new standard that a lot of vendors are working together by leading Google and Chrome team, is to bring a new generation of GPU to web. It's going to be very powerful. When I saw the demo, it was quite powerful. You can render 3Ds, manipulate it, and it feels like you are doing that on a real device. And this is going to be very interesting to see how it goes. It's good to have an eye on that for sure. And with that said, I think I will leave the performance side of the GoogleIO for web to Pramila. Pramila, stage is yours.
Thank you, Mazid. Can you please keep on sharing your slides? So just
Sure.
okay. Could you please continue with the slide presentation for me? Okay, thank you so much. So as many of the improvement from Google into the web part, the performance is also one of the major improvement. So Google recently gave WebAssembly a major performance boost by implementing support for SIM reprocessor. And it's not only WebAssembly, but also Google Meet. Google Meet also have incredible performance boost. Recently, Google have achieved 200% performance gain, which is kind of really impressive, and especially in these days where we are mostly working from home, not going to office, and people are more connected globally. It's very important to have a really good performance. It's kind of a really great work from Google. Could you just change to next slide?
Yes.
Another major improvement from Google is instant and seamless. So Google is building a support for graphical transition, and where is like most of the graphical transition between elements. And the second is security seamless. It's a more add-on the security seamless. And the third is cross-device one-time password. So you can log in into your mobile, and then Google enables you to transfer to your laptop, for example, and then you can still use the same login. You don't need to use another login for that. So it's a kind of like the wonderful feature Google has introduced with the cross-device one-time password. Can you change the slide? Yeah, and then the another thing is the Google search has announced the core web vitals for better performance, and it's kind of a really a good initiative, and and Google already has noticed lots of encouraging result in the testing, and soon it will be a part of the Google search ranking pages. So is one of the definitely one of the best feature is going to be for SEO purpose also, and for the best performance. Next, please. Yeah. So there are tooling. Looks like they're problem with the slide, but yeah, let me start with that. So as lots of different things with the web, the tooling improvement is also one of the important thing from Google, and lots of improvement in that. So is, for example, new color picker, and then improve warning and anything of PWA. And Core Web Vitals overlay, and Google also have a dedicated CSS Flexbox debugging, DAW framework visualization, and support for CSS and JavaScript. So it's lots of things for developers, and I mean, they must be excited for that. There's lots of things for them. I guess, yeah, that's it. So with finishing web part, let me hand over to machine learning and the cloud team.
Thank you very much. So, Rostam, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you for the updates. It's great. All right, let's see. I'll do this. I will add the screen, and I will add my partners in crime. Let's see. All right. Hello, Eyvind. We just heard about you in the beginning, but now we can also see you. Great to see you here. Prashant, are you with us? I'm not sure if he is.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, perfect.
But do I need to come on the stage, or
you are on stage already?
Okay.
Welcome to the stage. All right, so let's get started. I suggest we do this. It's three of us, and we have a few slides, but I think we can do it in the way that, in a kind of informal way, we can all weigh in on different slides and just mention things that we kind of think are worth mentioning for this slide, and just move on to the next topic. So I think the first one that is worth mentioning. There was a lot of AI. I mean, that's probably a good thing to start with to mention, and in different forms and shapes. And there was a lot of practical applications of AI, and there was a lot about helping to manage data and all these kind of things that are connected with AI. So one of them is the Vertex AI. Vertex AI, I put a link to the YouTube video in the corner there if you would like to see more and to have an understanding what it is. But the short version is that it is kind of end-to-end pipeline to handle all things connected to AI. So that would be ingesting the data, exploring data, understanding data, and doing all those things in kind of one go. Do you guys have anything to add on this part?
It really builds on the whole concept that AutoML introduced. Was it last year or the year before? But like also the the more of the data preparation parts also is part of Vertex.
Yeah, and it's basically ML ops, right? It's something that we see happening more and more other places as well. So the whole kind of pipeline and management of ML pipelines and things like that. Let's go to the next slide then. What else do we have there? Well, there were a few things that have been mentioned briefly already in the beginning, right in the beginning of this this presentation. So Lambda and Project Starline was one of those, or two of those things, but in general, there was a lot of other interesting applications of AI and how to make AI more accessible for people. And I think also, in my opinion, it was also a lot of focus on making it as simple as possible for people. So there were like an introduction of like abstraction layers. There was quite a bit of things connected to responsible AI and explainable AI and things like that. So just there were mentions of various methods to do the responsible AI kind of things. So we'll probably get a bit more into that on the next slide when we'll be talking about TensorFlow. But there's a lot of like way of exploring data to explaining why things were as they were, and so on, so on, so on. Project Starline. Anyone wants to explain that one? It's kind of mix of physical and AI kind of thing, and it's kind of
you
cool.
hear anything about what kind of hardware you would need to kind of do something like this?
But they never really mentioned that. I think they had some kind of super fancy screens that had very wide visibility, and they kind of felt very natural like. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Anybody else? I don't think it was mentioned anywhere. I couldn't find any more information about that apart from this blog post and the keynote.
But the Project Starline, it creates like a 3D model of a person in real time, so you can kind of chat. It looks like you're talking to a real person sitting next to you. It's
kind of the Star Trek kind of thing, right? You just get this holograms of people. It almost feels like that. I mean, it is a screen. It is actually a flat thing, but it gives you the kind of visibility or the feeling that it's actually 3D. So it's kind of impressive.
So let's see in the next year if it was just a GoogleIO party trick or it's actually going to end up to be something.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Does anyone want to say a few words about Lambda? What do you guys think about that?
One thing on the Lambda thing is like they've started using this transformer, which is basically like built for languages. So like I think that's quite good. So
it was quite impressive, those conversations you could have with kind of things. I mean, they would just give a personality to things, right?
Yeah, I mean, like their demo on that paper plane thing was quite good.
And Pluto, you remember that one?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Hopefully, they will implement this in Google Assistant soon. That would be great.
That would be really, really great, because it's one of those things that I remember now when you mentioned that is the context. And a lot of those assistant-related stuff is usually a kind of it's a bit challenging to get hold of the context sometimes. So it's a bit kind of one of the things that would be really great it would be great improvement, I would say. All right. Should we jump over to the next slide? And that one we kind of started with a little bit of spoilers already. There was quite a few mentions and quite a few news connected to TensorFlow in all shapes and sizes. I mean, there is a TensorFlow, there is TensorFlow Lite, there is a JS like for web applications. There was even some stuff for microcontrollers. Anything that you remember that you would like to mention on these topics?
No, I don't think so.
I think it was.
I
think it was a lot on one of the things that I remember. I mean, there was a lot of, in general, there was a lot of talk about privacy, and one of those things was that you can do quite a lot of machine learning and recognition of whatever that would be. I mean, it could be NLP, could be language processing, it could be image recognition, object detection, and all those kind of things. But it was one of those things was that you could do a lot of those on device. And there was also a little bit we're again running a little bit forward to the again next slide, but their own chips to do the processing that are much faster than using CPUs and other more general chips for that kind of stuff. So that was fun. What else? There was a TensorFlow for mobile, TensorFlow for web.
And one thing before you should mention that there are like lots of real-time project or use cases mentioned on the TensorFlow Hub. So anybody who wants to start, I think there are like good tutorials on different things, how to integrate some image recognition or audio recognition project on your mobile or web application. So I think you can train from pre-built models. So I think that's quite good.
And I also believe there was a few sites where you could, one of them where you can explore models. The other one was where you can explore your data. So that would kind of help you to explore your data. And again, there was quite a bit of a push on responsible AI and kind of the biased data and all those kind of things. That is very welcome for me. I think I would say. I mean, I'm a very big fan of hearing those things. Yeah. All right. So we're going further down to the hardware. So now we are probably as close to the hardware as we can possibly get, I would say. AI on the edge. Any takers on that?
Well,
I mean, I can. Yeah, go ahead.
They introduced TensorFlow Lite with the microcontroller support, basically.
Yep.
So that was probably one of the biggest announcements where you can actually run on what's it called? Free RTOS. So basically, this microcontroller OSs, and then you can now all of a sudden do a lot of processing using those. So that's actually pretty cool. And there was also a few announcements with the different boards for Google Coral. So the ones that you see on your left side, because I mean, most of those things have been released earlier. So you have USB accelerator, you have the big dev board, the second one from the left, and then you have a smaller versions to like for M2 connectors and this kind of stuff. But I think if I'm not mistaken, the one that is all the way to the right, that's the new one that is called Dev Board Mini. So that's a smaller factor dev board, which is supposed to be similar to the big one, the one that's the second from the left, but it has smaller form factor and is easier to handle. There was quite a few interesting use cases and showcases where this hardware has been used in different environments and different applications, I would say. I think it was everything from valve control and stuff for pipelines, like for water or for fluids of some kind. And there was some more stuff that would do. Yeah, there was a lot of cool applications that you would just get really excited and inspired by, actually, I would say. Anything else? I think this is pretty much it from the ML department. And from the cloud department, I have to say that there was not as much, and that was not very surprising, I would say, because this is definitely not a cloud event, because we will have a cloud event a bit later this year, Cloud Next, that will be coming back. It will be back. It will be at the end of the year, and I would expect many more announcements coming around that time. But the things that I've seen on I/O related to cloud was more of use cases, applications of serverless platform, things like Cloud Run and Event Arc and all those kind of things that are cloud, but they're also related quite to things that are much more natural to have on I/O, so more kind of consumer devices and stuff like that. So consuming events, consuming data, ingesting, analyzing, and this kind of things. But I would say there was quite some interesting demos of using both Kotlin and I think it was some Dart there, and there was a lot of fun. Anything else? Anything else? If I'm not forgetting, I think that should be it. If we are forgetting anything, we might feel free to use the chat. I mean, you are watching this thing on YouTube and it has live chat, and we would love to hear from you. So with that, I guess
there was Rustam,
Yep.
there was one more thing on that new dermatology app Google
Oh
has
yeah, that
launched.
was
Yeah,
a cool
yeah,
application. Yeah,
Yes,
good,
yes.
good. What you want to explain a little bit more about that?
I mean, I can try. I mean, basically, like what they've done is like integrating image recognition and the deep learning to basically like to give this initial diagnosis for the skin diseases. I mean, it starts from I mean, user basically have to upload the picture of skin or rashes and answer some questions, and then basically algorithm narrows down the possibilities, and then I mean, it helps diagnosis. Okay, maybe you have, most likely you are going to have this kind of disease or the symptom, and then using that you can go to a doctor or something. So the cool thing is like even the general doctor now, they can advise their patients on skin diseases as well, because they will get most of the information from the this tool. And now I think one more thing was like it has been approved by EU also, like as a CE recognition. So I think they will be launching it in the market quite soon.
That is great, actually. That's a very good thing that you mentioned it, because it's a really great application. It's like saving life kind of application, right?
Yeah, though I'm not sure, because there is an original startup which was already working on this similar idea, so I'm not sure how will they react. So,
well, that's
yeah.
that's how it is. Sometimes more than one group of people gets great ideas. So
Yeah,
let's hope they can cooperate somehow.
I think so. Yeah. It's a humongous startup, so let's see like if they can do something big using this. So.
All right.
Yes. Yep.
Then it is. If there is nothing else, and if there are no comments in the chat, that I don't see if there is any. But yeah, I think we'll wrap up with this section, and we will slowly proceed to the discussion part. So let me find my slides. I have the section number 3, a roundtable discussion. So let me. I will need to move. How do we do this? Let me see. So we have a few moderators, and I will leave the stage to them, or actually add them to the stage. But yeah, just looking for Ramila. There you are. So, do you
here.
guys,
Just,
do you
I have
folks
some-
want to do the
I have-
introduction of the
yes,
speakers,
I
and
have
then
some
I'll
problem
bring
with
them
my
in?
camera, but okay.
That's
Can
okay.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, sure. So I have some problem in my camera, but I will just talk. So thank you so much, everyone, to the brief recap, and it was really interesting to see everything about the web, mobile, and machine learning. So now let me invite all our GE and organizers to give their introduction, and I will let them to just introduce themselves, and then we can talk.
All right.
Perfect. Then let's get started from our guest, Rostam, if you agree. We have
Of
two
course.
guests here with us, two GDEs, amazing friends and awesome guys. So let them introduce themselves. Let's start with Santosh.
Hey everyone, hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Hey Majid, thanks for the invitation, and sorry for the delay. I was like doing another stream and just hop back here. So thanks a lot again for actually inviting me here. So just to give you a small introduction about me, I'm an Angular GDE, and I'm a GitHub star as well from India, and I'm an Auth0 ambassador. So that's a little bit about me. Apart from that, I run few of my communities. I do this Tech Talks with Santosh every Friday at 10 p.m. IST, which I was just doing because we had to actually do one stream before Friday. So that's what I was doing right now. And I also contribute to multiple open source projects, Angular, NGRX, and I then have few of my own projects to take care of. And we are building right now Lumberjack, another Angular library for logging purpose. So yep, that's what we are busy right now. That's about me.
Cool. Thank you, Santosh, for being with us. Let's go with Mangridas, if I pronounce your name correct.
Hi. You won't be the first one and the last one to mispronounce it, so no worries about that. Hi, everyone. I'm Mangridas. I'm a software engineer from Lithuania. I am currently working as a project lead in Debridge, and we are building the Flutter application there. And as well, this year I became a Flutter and Dart GDE. So yeah, in addition to that, content creator on Medium, quite an active user on social media. So
cool.
Hi.
Nice. Thank you very much. Then we have our great organizer, Rostam and Somit. So all together, we're going to talk about I/O. Do you want to introduce yourself again, Rostam or Somit? You are muted.
No, we are
the
good.
Sentences of the word. You're muted.
Yeah, I think this is stubborn.
I was just that's okay. I was just saying that I don't think it's necessary, but I can only add that I'm a cloud GDE as well. So I am
yes.
That's pretty much it. In addition to what I said earlier.
Perfect. So let's have this roundtable. Let's start this roundtable. All of you. Probably you have watched some part of the GoogleIO, maybe some part that you liked more, and things like that. And probably you by now you have heard or read about all the iOS stuff. What is the most interesting things that you have read or watched, or you think it's the most interesting thing from the IO?
Well, I like the IO adventures. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So while you're watching it, I think if you are on a bigger screen, especially working from home nowadays, you can do that IO adventures and just go around. Because I was thinking, how would they make this interesting? How could you? Because it's a lot of back-to-back videos going on and talks going on, and then. But that was like a world, and I just kept on playing with that. Yeah.
I heard some rumors of fishing somewhere there, that you could actually stand there and fish and just like get some special types of fishes. I did not. I was told that a bit later, because one of the days I was unfortunate that I had to do another talk in another for another community, so I had to miss that one, and then things happen, so I didn't get to see that. But there was a rainbow fish of a kind that everybody was looking for.
Actually, the hardest part was to getting the actual fishing rod to start fishing. I mean, I spent a significant amount of time to catching that.
Yes, that's correct. But so it's interesting that we pointed out the adventure instead of the features that they worked like for a year.
It's a feature too, right?
Yeah,
that's a feature too, of course.
But actually, when we're going into this a bit nerdy part of like this fun nerdy kind of part of this thing, or geeky version of that, another thing that I would like to mention is that this kind of treasure hunt that was on the website before the I/O. So first you would be kind of solving very simple things, and then at the end they would be thrown into a little bit into the JavaScript and developer tool, and from there you'll be thrown to like what's that called, like the punch card thing, and then you had to like decipher that thing, and then you would just like go deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. That was kind of fun.
Absolutely.
And Santos, wasn't there a thing where you can actually use Angular to debug Angular code, something like that?
Yeah, Angular DevTools. So that's my favorite feature, because being an Angular developer, I needed that from a long time. So that's finally here, and yeah, it looks amazing. So I try to use it in my few projects. So yeah, shout out to the Angular team for actually making it possible.
Sure. But like any particular update from the news, from the actual feature?
Actual feature?
One feature I love the most is File System Access API, and we already have an amazing use case. What StackBlitz team has done, I mean, running Node.js on browser, it's amazing, right? So that's all possible because of the File System Access API, which is available now, and you can do a lot of stuff.
Yes, interesting. That's from
The-
website, right?
Yeah,
sorry,
that's from web.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Flutter and the mobile thing. There's lots of new things came with, or Google came with lots of new things. So what kind of things or what improvement Flutter developers or mobile developers can get with the new improvements from Google?
There were a lot, actually. Honestly, I love the tendency that pretty much all the technologies nowadays are focused around the people and personalization. So of course, the first thing that pops to mind is like Material U, right? To just a personalized UI for Android users. And that, of course, if it's on Android, and you must have that on Flutter. So that support on Flutter, and like a promise, let's say, that we would be able to prepare apps for using Material U, probably getting those colors from the system and use them in your app on Flutter. I guess that's a huge advantage of just a basic default Material theme you have now, and you can use that. And also another thing maybe which I enjoyed was a lot of concern about privacy and security in general, and that was like a slogan going through all of the Google I/O, and you could see like that in very different technologies before us. Like you could hear that privacy is very important in machine learning because you can like train models on your device, and the same for Android. Like those improvements to not allow using camera or microphone, or just getting the approximate location, let's say. So those are like, in our eyes, it could be like small adjustments, but actually those matters the most to the users, because feeling safe, feeling secure while using apps, and as an app creator, you want for your app to be like you want to provide that feeling to the user. So I guess that's also a very important one.
Absolutely. It was interesting actually, because in both ML part and also web part, we had similar things, like the sandbox from web, like making more private and privacy-based web application, as well as for ML, a lot of talk or a lot of tips about how you can bring even the ML to the as close as possible to the user, to the device, with the hardware and things like that. So,
and there was a lot
interesting.
There was a lot of push on that, and for me, I would like I said a little bit earlier. I mean, there was not that much directly related stuff to cloud, but there were things to related to what I've been playing around and been having quite a lot of fun with using on my kind of hobby projects. One of them is Coral devices. So there was quite a few improvements. There are quite a few news on software side. So they did upgrade the operating system, so Mendel Linux thing on those devices. They did added quite a few new models. So now you can actually do object tracking, because I was playing around with that, and that was quite challenging to do actually tracking, because you could do recognition, you could do all the other things, but tracking was a bit of a thing. But now it was not only tracking, but it was actually pretty anonymized tracking, so you actually just see a little bit of silhouettes and stuff. So there was a lot of really, really nice things happening there as well. That was really interesting to see. And also I remember when I was looking into this stuff, I was a bit I was thinking, well, that would be really great to have it on microcontrollers. So, FreeRTOS stuff and things like that. And, now they just announced that it actually, you can run TensorFlow Lite on those as well. So that's a lot of really, really interesting stuff that will improve, again, privacy even more, because you can do all this processing on edge.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
let's take a moment and also ask our sorry Pramila. So I just wanted to say that if anyone from our audiences have anything to share, maybe they can put on the chat and we can also discuss about this, and you can tell us what was the most interesting things from IO for you. Just let us know in the chat and the comments, please. Go ahead, Pramila.
Yeah, sure. One of the features is quite interesting for me, but still I have a little concern about that. And I would like to know your opinions about the seamless part. So when you log in from your mobile, but Google also enable you to get access in your laptop, how do you think about the security concern? Do you think it's like secure enough to have that kind of feature, or what is your opinion? What do you think here?
I think you're pointing out to the OTP, right? So
yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah, the cross-device one-time password.
Yeah. So personally, I have no strong opinion. Let's say about that. For instance, I'm using like Apple infrastructure like Apple Watch and MacBook, and you can unlock your MacBook using Watch and so on. So I already using those features, and as a technology geek a little bit, I tend to trust the technology and not afraid of them. So I mean, every of these steps, if let's say Google release such a thing, I trust in them. I mean, if they provide this, probably they won't collect info about you. At least that's as I mentioned before, that's the whole slogan of the GoogleIO about the importance behind the privacy and personal data, right? So so my opinion is, yeah, that's a step forward for sure. I mean, whether we should avoid those technologies or not, probably not. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, would be interesting to hear your side also.
Yeah, I think the same. It's like a catch up. So Apple does it right now, and I feel like they may have done it because of Chromebooks. So if you have a Chromebook, if you have a mobile phone, then you need seamless logging in. So that's like a catch up for them. But Apple Watch is still a bit more personal. Yes, you're still wearing it on your palm. But a mobile phone in the hands of someone whom you don't want to be in the hands of, it would be tricky. Where they have access to, I don't know, maybe because it's a fingerprint. So it is a bit tricky because mobile is a bit more open and sometimes non-personal. There is a question.
So I mean, most of the let's say the people who already they're already using two-factor authentication. Probably someone is using your thumb impression or a different face, right? So to lock your phones. So I think and we already have connected infrastructure at every homes right now. So if you have multiple PCs, or let's say you have multiple mobile phones, you always try to keep them in sync. So I think it will be useful for me at least, because I often get my OTPs on my mobile and then I have to actually paste it on browser. So I think that will reduce the pain. And of course, the idea was to actually fill the gap between web and mobile, right? So there were a lot of course, initiatives which Chrome Team has been doing from a long time, from the Project Fugu, everyone knows about TWAs. So they're trying to fill in that gap. So where you don't think that you are actually using your mobile or you are using web. So I think that's a great way forward. Because OTPs are pain, to be frank.
Yeah, I think people maybe need more awareness how they need to use it and how they need to use better use of technology, just not just for sake of using. But yeah, that makes sense. It could be really handy or it could be risky. Depends how you're using, I believe.
It's always the case.
That is.
Yeah.
Sure.
I see that
Seems
we have
like
a
we have.
question. Yeah,
Yes, Rostam, we have some question. Can you? Yeah, maybe.
I'll show it on the screen.
Okay. What do you think about container queries playing much more important role in web responsive design? Santosh, it's for you. No,
So,
just kidding, everyone.
Yeah, I'm not that good into CSS, but I just watched the video about that particular feature, and I think it will make responsive design much easier because this was the highest voted issue related to CSS, and it was actually wanted by many developers who love CSS. I do love CSS, but I'm not that great doing CSS stuff. So, but of course, if that's one of the biggest point, which biggest pain point for all the developers, which they have resolved. So I think it is going to bring a lot of good things. I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we should give some time. People adopt it and use it. So it's gonna take some time. It's not like when they introduce something, we immediately use it. So it takes time. But I agree with you.
I guess it
Any
was
other
the same
any
thing
other
when, yeah, I guess it was the same thing when the web transitioned from like using tables to build the layout and then moving to the more flexible design, right? It was the same fuss around that.
Oh yeah, of course. We still have that transition from float and flex and grid and things like that,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well. We have another question. Are you ready?
Any opinion on the shopping graph?
Repeat the
This
question
is
again.
yours, Sumit. Go ahead.
No, I think this for me, I was excited because this was mind blowing when I saw that. I do a lot of research before I buy anything. Yeah, so I got excited. So again, the question is: any opinion on the shopping graph or the new way to get your data? And I think it's not your data; it's almost still anonymized. Yeah, that is there. That's what they said. I never trust Google because when I say history.google.com, I'm like, damn it, there's a lot of data delete. But as a geek, I think it's one of those places where I would like to share my data if I'm getting something out of it. And in this case, I think the example they showed was basically looking at a shoe, and then from the shoe, you were able to find out how much does it cost. You can watch the prices, and that will enable. I don't know how much they are sharing it anonymously. That would they know that this is Sumit, or would they know that then a user is potentially looking for a Nike shoe, and then Nike can basically come back to you saying, okay, this is now cheaper. 50% discount, and you can buy now. So it actually is tapping onto my curiosity of buying something. Yeah, it's like, yes, I need to have it. So yeah, and then never wear it. Just keep it there.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same opinion about that. I guess even the Marques Brownlee, the famous like YouTube tech reviewer there, he mentioned that if data is collected to like support my decisions and help me to still buy the same thing but cheaper, then why not? Of course, I'm against those like advertising things when you say cat food, and now I see advertisements for the cat food. But if you actually want to buy something, like as you mentioned, the Nike shoes, right? So I guess that's a great thing. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't think that's like a very big concern about collecting your personal data, because your data is collected basically to support your decisions, right, and to help you in some point. So I'm also a fan of these things, actually.
From my side, I don't. I was more fascinated by the way they put things together. So, like, just from the technical point of view, how it's all, because those different services and you kind of recognize the patterns of what things have been possibly used in the background, but then you kind of see, oh, that was a really smart way of connecting things, so I was a bit more fascinated from totally different geeky side of that, but it was still kind of fascinating to see.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, actually, it has another side. So sometimes I randomly search for something and I don't want to buy. I just search. I am just looking for something, right, randomly. But if they collect and tell me this is cheaper, I will go and buy it. But I don't want to buy it. So it's a little bit tempting. I think I need a feature like delete, delete, delete. But speaking of the Delete Summit, his story, you said, there is my favorite feature of the Google I/O is the last 15 minutes history deletion. There is a new button in Chrome or Chrome or maybe Chrome on Android or something that you can delete your history everywhere for the last 15 minutes. It's quite handy when you want to go live and you don't want to show your history and things like that. So it's one of the cool
that's a good
features.
feature.
Oh,
And
so
I
you can
think they
remove
also
your history
mentioned that.
for 15 minutes?
The last 15 minutes or something, was it? Like there was some threshold, so you
interesting.
can delete your history and cookies and everything,
Okay.
I guess that's for more of a case when you get into that rabbit hole and into the dark side of the internet and you want to forget it as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Exactly.
I have never been here.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Very good. Cool. We had another things that I have one impression from this I/O this year. I just want to share it with you, see if you have the same impression. It was, to me, this year of I/O was mostly about showing the power of AI into the Google products. It was I felt that like in the keynote, it was everywhere. So in other keynotes, like a particular part, it was everywhere. So did you have like the same feeling?
Yes, and I think I said that already, but I'll probably repeat myself because it's kind of, I think it's an important thing and I appreciate it a lot. There was quite a bit of a push on to this ethical part of that, and there was a bit of push of quite a bit of push of the responsible AI and responsible, explainable, and ethical, and all those things that we really, really, really need nowadays in the AI world.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also like the idea about, I guess, I read that on Twitter, maybe even Sarah Fulmer posted that this year Google is like putting glitter on everything, and that glitter is machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I actually agree on that, because at least by listening at the keynote, sometimes it looked like it's just only a buzzword used for everything, but actually in some cases it makes sense. I mean, if that is used on purpose to improve the, I don't know, user experience in general, I guess that's again a step forward to improve. But yeah, you as a basic, let's say, participant there, you could feel that buzzword everywhere, and I'm not sure why it was that purpose to like translate it this way.
Agreed. I mean, if you see from past few months or like from last year, I think Google was actually getting a lot of bashing from the community because of few things which they did for in terms of firing someone in the AI community, and especially in terms of your privacy, right? So these two things which they have been getting a lot of bashing from the community, and the entire Google I/O I/O was actually focused on these two things. So I think that was an answer to the community as well, that we do care about you. That's what I can. That's what my learning is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with you. So it's a good thing that they are listening to the community and they're reflecting to what we are requesting, for sure. Good. So we have some kind of comments. I see. Yeah, they also mentioned a new default setting that your user data history would have an expiry date. Oh yes, that was a very good thing they mentioned. It was a year or something. Like you
Yes.
can opt out, but then it's if you don't have that, then they will delete. Right? Was it something like that?
Actually, to be honest, I think that's a kind of thing that's been there for quite some time. But they did mention it, and they kind of re-mentioned it in a way, and it seems like people it takes some time for people to notice. But I remember back in the days, back in those crazy remote days when we were actually allowed to travel and be in those crazy places called airports. I remember there was this there were advertisements all over the place. I don't remember where was that. Was it Amsterdam or Belgium or somewhere in Europe? I think there was like whole airport was covered with those privacy ads, and one of those things was this, that your data can have an expiry date. So I think it's been there for quite some time. Maybe it wasn't for all regions and stuff. I'm not really sure about that, but this is really, really nice setting. And you can also turn it off forever as well, so you don't really have to store it anyway.
Yeah, you're right. I think they mentioned that it was there, as you said, but it was like you should opt in to get that feature or something like that. But now they said it's rolled out for everyone. You don't need to opt in, so it's automatically they're gonna remove everything. I think that was the case, if I remember correctly,
it
right?
Could be, yes. I think so, maybe.
Okay.
All right, very cool. So maybe for the last question, anything in particular you want to point out from this I/O and say something about it or predict something for the future based on that? Do you have anything in your head? I have one thing I can start, at least to give you some hints. For me, in the keynote and a couple of other talks, it was some kind of mentioning about the advancement of the map, Google Map. It was not just the Google Map itself, but the technology around it. For example, WebGL or WebAssembly stuff that they've done, or the PWA things that they're doing, the mobile app version of that they're doing, and big improvement. I think next year, or the AR things that they have done for sure, or interesting things that you can talk with Map and say, hey, get me the breakfast the fastest way. I'm hungry. I need a McDonald's. And then Map gives you a route. I think this was something very highlighted for me, kind of like a usability. It's something that we deal with that every day, right? I use Google Maps like literally every day to check a lot of stuff, find the stuff, things like that. And I think the advancement of this feature itself, it's going to make it easier for us to live and also collaborate later, like for businesses and things like that. And I predict that next year we have a massive improvement on this in terms of watching the places. We already have AR. You can already dig into the map and watch the pictures and things like that. But I guess it will be more into the VR version of the style. Like you can virtually imagine that you are in that place in the map. That's something I predict. I think that's gonna happen.
I agree with you that I was amazed by the way they went deeper into the airport and they were showing the way out. Sometimes that's always you're not sure which way to go. And the precision it had, you need to be more precise because you're walking that down there. So this again, all of them comes back to AI, AR, a lot of compute power they have with their data centers. And I think with the Lambda and the Mum stuff there, it was freaky enough to almost imagine that if you guys have seen the movie Her, they should just change the voice from of Google to be Scarlett Johansson. It will almost sound like like her automatically having conversation with a robot there.
Yeah.
I think it's also a little scary sometimes when you can see all the pictures from airport and all. I believe it could be a security concern. So when I saw this picture, I definitely thought about that. Getting a picture from airport, that's something need to be avoided, or I don't know. Maybe it could be best or not. Future will tell.
Sure.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, when just to build on what Sumit has mentioned is that the voice and everything. I think the most freaky thing that was like really kind of the eye opener for me was when you could actually hear a computer breathe, so you could actually hear the person that was kind of speaking or emulating the voice. It would just kind of breathe in and you'll hear this voice, and that was kind of the sound, and that was kind of a bit freaky. But when it comes to indoor navigations and everything and maps and everything, that's really, I mean, I've been working with GIS, geographical information systems, some time ago. That was one of my first things that I've been doing like professionally, and that's quite a lot of work. I mean, it's quite tough stuff to do, and indoor navigation is still not as solved as it is. I mean, there are a few companies that are doing that, but they're not like, it's not so mainstream yet, as Google has made maps with Google Maps, right? So that would be really interesting to see how that thing evolves in generally in indoor navigation, because when Google Maps came in, it just made the GIS stuff and all this specialist software into a totally different thing. Right now, it was just kind of public domain, more or less. I mean, everybody could actually do that, and everybody would expect some functionality that nobody really thought to be offering to general public to begin with, in a way.
Okay, a last question after the last question. Was something announced outside of Google I/O, but was an announcement? It was funny. I think Majid, you did tweet. So it is a question to Magridas and Majid, Fuchsia and Flutter. So
Yeah.
oh,
Okay. Yeah. I see
where
your
I'm
points
going.
there. Actually, I was one of that person, and among a lot of us who thought that Fascia would be that specific technology which would be represented during the Google I/O, during the Flutter keynote, because in March we had this Flutter Engage event, and a lot of it was a major release for Flutter and so on, a lot of stable releases for multiple platforms. So we thought, what's left? So probably Fascia maybe, during Google I/O, but apparently that wasn't the case. And now, it was yesterday or 2 days ago, right? The Fuchsia was announced. So cool. I don't know. I haven't tried that, but just seeing that, okay, there is a new operating system which is now running on not the first, maybe the first version of NASHub, I don't know, but on the older version of that device, right? So that a first step to improve and expand in those embedded devices. So I'm not talking about all the microprocessors and so on, but now it's like, in my opinion, that's a very huge leap to move Flutter integrated in the IoT world, in your home, in your smart home, or in the city, maybe, I don't know, smart boards around there. So I guess that's a huge step for Flutter as well, because Flutter is the technology which allows to build the UI in Fascia. So that's a huge thing, in my opinion.
Something to look out for then. Yeah, keep an eye on that. So is it announced? So is it live? Do we get?
Yeah, it is. It is live right now. The first version is out, and interestingly, when this tweet was out and they released the news and things like that, I commented like, why there? Well, I'm excited for that for sure, as a GDE for Flutter and like an advocate for Flutter, and Flutter is first citizen in Fuchsia for sure. So I was excited for that, but then I was also curious why this was not announced in IO. Like 4 days after IO, they released version 1 of an operating system that they have worked about 5 years or maybe more, but it's not announced, even not single word about it in IO. And that made me curious. I made a comment and one of the tweets, and believe me, that tweet got a lot of likes. And I thought that, okay, a lot of developers are thinking like me. Why they announced it and there was no update on that in GoogleIO. But it's interesting. I don't know what you think, Santosh or Rostam, about the new operating system in from Google.
Not that much into the mobile space, but I mean, no idea about it.
You're gonna have a new operating system soon,
That's
like
gonna be
Linux
interesting.
yeah. So you can run it on your I don't know how it even runs on like in different CPUs, like Intel. You can run it, or I have not investigated much actually.
I'm not sure,
On,
but
on smart toaster, something like that.
But when we're speaking about those kind of things, it's also worth mentioning that Tizen and Wear OS, or Wear now, are kind of joining together also, and that's also an interesting thing. That was announced on IO, but I would like to see what is actually going to happen there, because I don't know what it means to be joining forces. Is it just deprecating one, or actually merging both, or what it actually means? So that would be interesting as well.
Yeah, I think Circ and they said they built it from scratch. So yeah, nothing what we have seen before.
Yes. All right, very good. Anything else from you, Santosh, our guest, Rustam, GDE, for the last word for today, and then we can go for the raffle.
Yeah, I mean, just to add, I really like the Chrome, how Chrome team is actually making web and mobile closer. So I really like the file handling API, because that was one of the biggest pain point as a web developer. Whenever you have to actually deal with files, I'm sure if you wrote a web app, you know that in case you have to transfer some file, it was always a pain. But I can see a lot of use cases of actually file system access API as well as file handling API. Probably, let's say, you write blogs, right? So you can just upload your Markdown file. How cool will that be, right? So you don't have to actually go ahead and write it on portal. You can just, different portals supporting an upload option of Markdown. You can just upload it and then it's done. And they are also working on pre-rendering API, which is I'm really interested about, because pre-rendering has is one of the hot topics in web space, because everyone wants their page to be loaded fast, and that's what they are working on. So I'm really interested to know more about this new pre-rendering API, whatever they are going to do. So I'll keep and watch, and if you are in web space, keep and watch in this 3 features for sure.
Cool. Anyone else?
I've been talking enough for today.
All right, very good. So thank you very much for our guest, amazing guest, for joining us today. Let us to talk about the IO features, talking about web, mobile, and MLS stuff. And thank you for listening again to us and raising your question, having some comments. Thank you very much. But then we will say goodbye to Santosh and Mangaridas, so our great friends. But we will stay on the stage for raffle. Thank you. And let's bring up Martina and maybe the rest of us. So let's have the raffle. I'm going to share my screen, Rostam.
Yep, go ahead.
Please. And Martina, let us know how many attendees registered.
So we have 12 participants at the moment.
All right.
So if anyone...
Very good. 12 participants. So, okay. We're going to give away, let's put 1 to 12. All right. So we're going to, and actually it's interesting. You see what I'm interested in. All the ads shows my recent. All right. So let's get it started. Are you
still
ready?
have 1 to 10.
Ah,
Right.
wrong.
Just make it no. Oh, yes.
There we go.
Yes.
I actually had 2 browser open. Sorry, I shared the different one. All right, so let's get started. Drum roll. Let's.
We're gonna have 5 winners, right?
Yes.
Number 3 is always lucky.
3.
Number 3, and that's
Just the name.
Casper Lovborg. Yes, yeah. So Casper Jensen.
Very good, Casper. So we have your email. We will contact you. How we will send this T-shirt to you. Let's go for the next one.
Congratulations! Woo.
A drum roll. Okay,
Drum roll.
and
9.
9.
What are you doing? 3 threes, all the threes, is it? 3, 9, 12.
Well, that's random. At least they said it's random. So, who was that?
It's actually one of our hosts, Mangirdas.
Oh, it's our GDE. Why not? Then perfect.
Nice.
Congrats, Mangrit. So very nice. Let's go for the next one. Well, actually, this has a sound, but you can't hear it probably.
Nope.
Very good. Next one, 2.
2, and that's Per Henden.
Very nice. Congratulations. We will contact you with your email. Another one. Drum roll. Woo!
Drum roll.
So, number 4.
4.
Okay,
It's like
and 4
2,
is
3, and 4.
it's Brian.
Brian,
Anderson.
congratulations.
Yes.
And last one, drum roll.
You can also play bets, place your bet, place your bet, place your bet.
And the number is, yes.
Oh no.
2.
Again.
What? That's not random.
2 gets a
Oh,
family pack.
I forgot to remove it from the choice. That's why. Oh, okay, let's do it one more time.
2 can get a family pack.
Number.
That's also
4.
done.
What?
We had 4
that was my
already.
mistake. Yes, I have to remove it from the choice. I forgot to do that. Very nice. And the next one is 6. Number 6.
6, and it's Thomas.
Nice.
Oh,
Thomas.
Thomas. Yes.
Very nice. Then congratulations to all of our winners. You will get a T-shirt. We have your email, and we will contact you, and we will let you know how you can get these T-shirts. Fantastic.
Congratulations,
And
guys.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
I will share my maybe Rustam, you can share the slides for the final words, and we can wrap it up.
Yes, you should see it by now. And let's do the conclusion. Well, we've been there. Conclusion. Well, that's pretty much it. Anything that we'd like to say in the conclusion there?
Just keep an eye on more events from us, and I think I've just enjoyed this collaboration. And
that is a very, very good point. So we are all over. We are all over the Nordics, and if you're not living nearby any of the GDGs that's been mentioned, you can still join us virtually, or you can also, and you can also look for GDGs that are nearby. There is a GDG directory out there on the web, so search for that and look, and you'll probably find a GDG near you.
And I just wanted to say that each of GDG chapters, of course, they have their own events, but we thought that maybe this type of format would be more interesting for the wider audience, and it as well give us opportunity to talk and enjoy company of people from the whole area. So if you liked it, it would be nice if you can give us a feedback that we could continue with this type of events. Yes.
Absolutely. Then thank you very much. And like everyone else said, please give us feedback, because your feedback will help us to improve. And next time we'll bring even better event for you. We would love to hear from you. If you want to talk or be one of our guests in the next meeting, reach out to one of us or the closest chapter leader to you, and we will get you on the stage next time. And with that said, if anyone else in the stage doesn't have anything to share, let's say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Good evening.